cases involve women from Michigan who traveled to Miami, Florida, and were found dead. I came upon these stories from a comment on one of my Jersey Shore recaps, actually. I had covered an episode recently where the cast went to Club Space in downtown Miami. One of my viewers told me that a woman had disappeared from that club just a couple of months before the cast went, and she was later found deceased. Her name was Paula Sladewski. I looked into her and was surprised to see that she was from Michigan. In searching for information on Paula, I learned about two other Michigan women, one missing in Miami and one recently found deceased. I had written all my notes and was finalizing them to film when I saw an article posted just a couple of hours before saying that the missing woman had thankfully been found safe. So while her story no longer needs to be told, I will be sharing about a woman named Keisha. Something else that is extremely odd is that all of these women were exotic dancers. Unfortunately, a lot of times, women in that industry don't have their crimes properly investigated because people think they live a, quote, high-risk lifestyle and are looked down upon. So I want to share their stories today. As always, this is a true crime video, so I will be discussing some sensitive topics, but doing so as delicately and respectful as I can. The first woman whose story I want to share is Keisha Nicole Jones from Detroit, Michigan. Around 6 a.m. on June 26th, 31-year-old Keisha Nicole Jones was seen leaving Dean's Gold Gentleman Club in North Miami Beach. Police believe she got an Uber or Lyft and was taken to Scarlett's Cabaret in Hallandale Beach. There is surveillance footage of her outside of Scarlett's holding hands with an unidentified male. And this is the last time she was seen alive. She was reported missing by her family the next day after failing to make contact with them. 3 days later, on June 29th, between 2 and 4 a.m., her body was discovered in Biscayne Bay near the NOAA research facility on Virginia Key. This is about 20 miles south of where she was last seen at Scarlett's. So far, there has been no cause of death revealed, nor has it been ruled a homicide, and no suspects have been publicly identified. The FBI has taken over Keisha's case, and I saw a lot He seems to be one of the last people to see Keisha alive. In the video, she appears relaxed, maybe even smiling. The footage is not very clear, but it doesn't look like she is in distress at all. The man's name and photo are out there on a missing poster, but I do not know who made this poster. I could not confirm if it was the family. It was just something that I saw on Reddit, and it is also not information that has been released by the authorities, so I am hesitant to share it. What I will share is that person had previously been arrested several times for DV, including strangulation, theft, and possession with intent to distribute cocaine, and false imprisonment. Keisha is originally from Detroit, and from what I gather, had recently moved to Miami. I did read that she had been a dancer and was possibly checking out Dean's and Scarlett's for employment reasons. Her father, Richard Furlow, said that she had recently gotten a new boyfriend and started attending church. She was trying to turn her life around. It's unclear if the man in the video with Keisha is that boyfriend. I have read claims that it is not, but from the surveillance video, it seems to be someone she knows and was relatively comfortable with. Keisha's father says, "My heart is broken. My sister can't stop crying. I've gotten so sick to the point where I've been having a stiffness in my heart and my stomach, so I just try to keep it out of my mind, because that's the only way I can survive, just trying to stay strong." Her family held a vigil in Tenaya Beach. Keisha's mother, Ramona Jones, said that she was a good girl. She never got in trouble. Keisha was my heart. She was my everything. I love her dearly, and my heart is hurting so bad. Her father said she was just a beautiful spirit, and I'm gonna miss that because that was my only child. She's irreplaceable. The family released doves in her memory. Keisha was described by her family as a bundle of joy. She cared deeply about keeping the family connected and was always staying on top of that. There is very minimal information on this case available. Almost all of the news articles I read covering it were just parroting the same information. I'm assuming says that he handed Paula his credit card before he left, but that he had her phone because he had been holding on to it for her while they were down there. It's crazy to me that he would give her his card, but not her phone. Just a few minutes later, surveillance footage shows Paula being escorted out of the club alone at 7:21, just 4 minutes after Kevin. According to the club, they have a policy that both parties have to be kicked out if there's an altercation. And I guess they tend to kick the parties out separately to avoid any further issues between them. But it does seem highly dangerous to send a drunk woman out on the streets of downtown Miami by herself, especially considering the area right around downtown is considered not the safest. It feels icky, like someone was trying to get Paula separated from Kevin. Witnesses saw Paula walking away from the club, and this was the last time she was seen alive. Later that morning, Kevin woke up and realized Paula never came home. This is something that she would do sometimes, but when she didn't return, Kevin is worried. He is seen going to a local gas station and showing the cashier Paula's photo. He called Paula's parents and said she never came home and attempted to report her missing, but was told he had to wait 24 hours. So in the meantime, he hired a private investigator. 14 hours after leaving the club, Paula's body was found burning in a dumpster fire. This dumpster was about 10 miles from the nightclub in an isolated industrial area, far in on a dead-end road. The body was not immediately able to be identified, and Kevin had actually contacted the medical examiner's office to see if anybody had come in matching Paula's description. So they sent out a detective to tell him that they found a body. Kevin was able to identify one of the earrings as hers, and a couple days later, dental records confirmed it was Paula. By the time she was set on fire, she was already dead. It appears that she has been strangled. Obviously, Kevin was the first person that police wanted to talk to. They did initially name him as a person of interest. They questioned him for 12 hours. He was eventually ruled out because he didn't have a car with him, and police said there was no way he could have gotten Paula's body to that dumpster without a vehicle. He also didn't have any scratches, marks, or any indication that he had been in an altercation. What's wrong with me tonight? Paula was the kind of girl that would fight back fiercely jobs of Uber and Lyft anyway. I want to talk a little about Paula's personal life and her relationship with Kevin. It was toxic, to say the least, and they had been on again, off again for about 2 years, and they both had been arrested for DV against each other. Just a few weeks before the Miami trip, Kevin broke Paula's nose. He actually had 2 upcoming court dates in relation to the domestic violence situations between them. Paula's sister Kelly says the broken nose situation was actually an accident, and all of the toxicity in their relationship was fueled by alcohol. While Paula's mother is sure that Kevin is responsible for her daughter's death, Kelly isn't. She said that she never doubted Kevin's innocence, but says he's not blameless and has to live with his actions that night for the rest of his life. Paula's mom said that Paula was terrified of Kevin and had actually contacted her ex about him, claiming that she feared for her life. However, Kelly says this information isn't entirely accurate because of the person it was coming from. Paula's ex was someone she started dating when she was 14 and he was 29. And I say dating in question marks because that would imply that there is consent, and a 14-year-old cannot consent to a relationship with a 29-year-old. Kelly says their mother let this happen. She let her daughter be taken advantage of by a 29-year-old when she was a child and did nothing about it. So Kelly ended up calling CPS, and the guy got put in jail for 2 years. Paula waited for him, and by the time he got out, she was of age and they continued dating for a time. So this is the